Right before I hung up, I overheard my fiancée laughing with her friends, saying, "That idiot has no idea I'm sleeping with his friend." I kept quiet and took action. 3 days later, she showed up at my parents' house screaming, "My name is Daniel. I am 33 and I work as a procurement manager for a regional construction company in North Carolina. My days are structured and predictable. Early mornings, supplier calls, spreadsheets, gym after work, home by 7. I have always preferred stability over chaos, and I plan most things weeks ahead." My fiancée, Lauren, is 29 and works in event marketing. We have been together for 3 years and engaged for 8 months. We rent a townhouse together and split most expenses evenly, though I cover the larger fixed costs because I make more. From the outside, our life looked aligned and practical. Lauren has always had a sharp personality, confident, quick with sarcasm, and very aware of how she presents herself. I used to see it as social intelligence. Lately it has felt more like performance. The night everything shifted was a Tuesday. I was finishing up at the office when she called to say she was staying out with friends after work. Nothing unusual there. She liked her midweek social nights, and I never policed that. Around 10:30 she called again, laughing loudly over background noise, asking if I could pick up a package from the porch before it rained. I said sure and told her to have fun. Right before I hung up, she must have thought the call had already disconnected. Her voice changed, lower, sharper, amused in a way I had not heard directed at me in months. I heard her say that idiot has no idea I am sleeping with his friend. Then more laughter, a chorus of it. I did not react. I did not call back. I stood in the parking lot with my phone still in my hand and replayed the sentence in my head until it felt structurally real. There are moments when denial is easier. That was not one of them. I drove home, picked up the package, and sat in the kitchen in complete silence. I knew exactly which friend she meant, and I decided I would not confront her that night. I am not impulsive by nature. When something does not add up, I verify it before I react. That is how I operate at work, and it is how I handle personal problems. So instead of driving to the bar or sending a string of emotional texts, I opened my laptop. Lauren had been careless in small ways the last few months, guarding her phone more closely, taking calls in the other room, mentioning my friend Eric's name a little too often in casual stories. Eric and I have known each other since college. We are not inseparable, but we see each other a few times a month. He has been to our place for dinners. He was at our engagement party. I checked our phone bill online. I am the account holder. There were dozens of calls between her number and Eric's over the past 6 weeks. Not group calls, direct calls, some late at night, some during work hours. The pattern was clear enough that I did not need imagination to fill gaps. Still, I waited. Lauren came home around midnight, loud and energized, heels in hand. She kissed me on the cheek like everything was normal and went straight to the shower. I did not mention what I heard. I did not mention the call log. I asked about her night. She rolled her eyes and said it was boring and that her friends were dramatic. I watched her while she talked. There was no guilt, just irritation that she was tired. Over the next 2 days, I paid attention quietly. Wednesday, she said she had a client dinner. The phone bill showed a 40-minute call to Eric right before she left the house. Thursday, she claimed she was working late. Her location, which she had voluntarily shared months ago for convenience, placed her at a condo complex across town. I knew that complex. Eric rents there. At that point, the overheard sentence was no longer a possibility. It was confirmation. I did not confront her. I did not argue. I did not even change my tone. Instead, I called my parents and asked if I could stay with them for a few days starting Saturday. I told them we were having issues and I needed space. They did not ask questions. Then I made a plan. Friday morning, I requested Monday off work. I told my supervisor I had a personal matter to handle. He approved it without digging. I then called our landlord. The lease is in my name. Lauren was added as an occupant, not a co-tenant. That detail mattered. I explained that my fiancé and I were separating and asked what the formal process would be to remove an occupant and potentially break the lease early. He told me that since I was the leaseholder, I could submit written notice to remove her as an approved occupant. If I wanted to terminate the lease entirely, it would require a 60-day notice and a penalty fee. I told him I would get back to him within 48 hours. That same afternoon, I opened a new checking account at a different bank and transferred my direct deposit information. We had a joint account for shared bills, but most of the incoming funds were mine. I left enough in the joint account to cover rent and utilities through the end of the month. I was not interested in being accused of financial manipulation. I was interested in clean separation. That night, Lauren mentioned that she was grabbing dinner Saturday with friends. I asked which ones. She shrugged and said the usual group. She did not specify names. I did not ask. Saturday morning, while she was at a spin class, I packed what was mine. Clothes, documents, electronics, a few personal items. I left the furniture. I left the kitchenware. I left the television. Everything we purchased together stayed. I was not trying to win a material argument. Before leaving, I placed the engagement ring box on the kitchen counter. The ring inside. No note. Then I drove to my parents' house. I did not block her immediately. I wanted to see what her first move would be when she realized I was gone. Around 5 in the evening, my phone lit up. "Where are you?" I did not answer. 10 minutes later. "Why is my ring on the counter?" Still nothing from me. Then, "Are you seriously being dramatic right now?" By midnight, the messages shifted from annoyance to panic. She claimed she had no idea what this was about. She asked if someone had said something to me. She said we needed to talk like adults. I responded once. "I overheard you Tuesday night." There was no reply for 12 minutes. Then one word. "What?" I left it there. She called immediately after sending that single word. I let it ring out. Then she called again. And again. By the fourth attempt, her tone shifted from confused to aggressive in the voicemail she left. "What exactly do you think you heard? Because if this is about some out-of-context joke, you are seriously overreacting." I listened to the voicemail once and deleted it. There is a specific kind of clarity that comes when someone thinks they can talk their way out of something you already verified. I had the call log. I had the location history. I had the sentence itself, delivered in her own voice. I did not need a confession. I needed distance. She started texting rapidly. "You are not going to ghost your own fiancé over gossip. Answer me. This is insane. If this is about Eric, you are embarrassing yourself." That last message was interesting. I had not mentioned a name. I replied once. "You already know what it is about." 3 dots appeared almost immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. "This is exactly why I did not tell you sooner." That was the message that ended it for me. Not the cheating. Not even the mocking sentence. The framing. As if transparency had been a favor she was considering. I did not argue. I did not insult her. I opened my phone settings and blocked her number. Then I blocked her on every platform. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, even Venmo. I also texted Eric. "I heard enough on Tuesday. Do not contact me again." He responded within a minute. "Man, it is not what you think." I blocked him too. After that, the silence was immediate and complete. No more vibrations. No more screen lighting up. Just quiet. Sunday passed without incident. Monday morning, I emailed the landlord written notice removing Lauren as an approved occupant effective immediately. I told him I would be terminating the lease within the week and would pay the required penalty. He confirmed receipt. I thought that would be the end of it. It was not. 3 days later, Wednesday afternoon, my mother called me at work. "Daniel, Lauren is here. She is outside the house. She is screaming." I closed my office door and took a slow breath. She had escalated. I left work immediately and drove to my parents' house. It is about 20 minutes from my office. During the drive, my mother texted twice asking what she should do. I told her to stay inside and not engage. When I pulled onto their street, Lauren was standing in the driveway, pacing. Her car was parked crooked near the mailbox. She was on her phone, likely calling me from a number I had already blocked. The second she saw my car, she walked straight toward it before I had even shut the engine off. "You do not get to disappear on me, Daniel." Her voice was sharp and loud enough that 2 neighbors were clearly watching from their yards. I stepped out of the car and stayed near the driver's side door. I was not interested in theatrics. I was interested in control. "You need to lower your voice," I said calmly. "This is not your house." That set her off. "Oh, now it is your house and your rules. After 3 years together, you think you can just run to your parents and hide." I did not match her energy. I told her I had nothing to discuss in a driveway, and that if she had something to say, she could email me. She laughed at that. "Email you? Are you serious? You block me everywhere, and now you want a corporate exit interview." The neighbors were fully invested at this point. I could feel it. Lauren thrives on audience reactions. She straightened her posture and projected. "Tell them why you left. Tell them you are accusing me of something insane because you are insecure." That word again. Insecure. It was her default when she did not have leverage. I looked at her steadily and said one sentence. "I heard you say you were sleeping with my friend." For the first time since I arrived, her expression flickered. "You took that literally." There was no apology, no denial, just minimization. I told her I had already verified the call history and her location. I did not raise my voice. I did not insult her. I simply stated facts. Her face hardened. So what? You were distant. You were boring. Eric actually listens. There it was. Not remorse. Just justification. At that point, the conversation was finished for me. I told her she had 1 hour to collect her personal belongings from the townhouse the next morning. I would meet her there with a witness. After that, the landlord would be changing the locks. She stared at me like she was deciding whether to escalate further. Instead, she said something that confirmed I had made the correct decision. You are going to regret this when you calm down. I did not respond. I walked inside my parents' house and locked the door. That night, I barely slept. Not because I was doubting myself, but because I was calculating logistics. The goal was simple: clean extraction, no scenes, no property disputes, no prolonged contact. At 9 the next morning, I met Lauren at the townhouse. I had asked my older cousin Mark to come with me as a witness. He is calm, practical, and not easily baited. I wanted a neutral third party present in case she tried to reframe the situation later. Lauren arrived 10 minutes late. She stepped out of her car wearing oversized sunglasses like she was entering a courtroom. No greeting, no apology, just immediate hostility. You really brought backup. Yes, I said. For clarity. She rolled her eyes and walked past us into the house. I stayed near the doorway while Mark stood in the kitchen. I had already packed her personal items into labeled boxes the night before. Clothes, shoes, cosmetics, documents. I had not touched anything that could be considered joint property. I documented the condition of the house with time-stamped photos before she arrived. She moved through the rooms quickly, checking drawers, opening closets. At one point, she held up the empty ring box. You think you are some kind of hero for this? No, I said. I think I am someone who heard enough. She tried a different angle then. Softer voice. Less volume. Daniel, we could have talked about this. You did not even give me a chance to explain. You had the chance Tuesday night, I said. Instead, you laughed. Her jaw tightened. She picked up one of the boxes and carried it to her car. Then another. There were no tears. Just simmering anger. Halfway through loading her things, she stopped and looked at me directly. Are you telling your friends? I paused for a second. I am not protecting you. That was when the mask slipped. You are going to look pathetic. Do you know that? Running to your parents because your fiancé had options. Options. That was the word she chose. I did not argue. I simply said that after today, any further contact needed to go through email regarding shared financial matters. Nothing else. She finished loading the last box and slammed her trunk shut. Before getting into her car, she said one more thing. Eric says you are blowing this out of proportion. That confirmed two things. First, they were still in contact. Second, she expected that to bother me. It did not. She drove away without looking back. I went inside, walked through each room once, and closed the door behind me. That afternoon, I signed the lease termination papers and paid the penalty fee in full. I was not interested in sharing a space that had already been disrespected. For the first 48 hours after she moved out, there was silence. I focused on logistics. I finalized the lease termination. I redirected my mail. I moved the rest of my belongings into a short-term rental closer to work. It was small and furnished, but it was neutral. That mattered. On Friday evening, a mutual friend named Caleb texted me. Hey man, what is going on between you and Lauren? I kept my response short. We ended the engagement. Ask her for details. Caleb replied almost immediately. She says you accused her of cheating based on something you misunderstood. That you were spiraling. That word again. Spiraling. I did not send screenshots. I did not argue my case. I simply said this. If you value your time, stay out of it. Within the hour, 2 more friends reached out with variations of the same message. Lauren was clearly doing damage control, framing herself as the calm one dealing with an unstable fiancé who overreacted to a joke. I expected that. What I did not expect was a message from Eric's younger sister, Megan. I barely knew her. We had met maybe twice at group events. She wrote, I do not think you and I have ever talked one-on-one, but I heard something last week that you deserve to know. Eric has been seeing Lauren for at least 2 months. My mom found messages when he left his laptop open. I read that twice. The timeline aligned perfectly with the call log I had already seen. I thanked her and did not ask for proof. I did not need it. Later that night, Lauren tried to reach me from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Daniel, stop hiding. We need to fix this narrative before it gets ugly. Fix the narrative. Not fix the betrayal. Not repair the relationship. Manage perception. That voicemail told me everything about where her priorities were. I saved it. The next morning, I sent one group message to a small circle of close friends. I ended the engagement after overhearing Lauren admit to sleeping with Eric. I verified the communication pattern before acting. I will not discuss it further, but I will not accept a version that paints me as unstable. No insults. No dramatics. Just facts. The responses were brief, but clear. Most of them had suspected something was off for a while. By Sunday, the noise had quieted. Lauren's final message came through email. "You are destroying something that could have been repaired. I hope you are proud." I read it once and archived it. Pride had nothing to do with it. Clarity did. 2 weeks passed without direct contact. In that time, I focused on rebuilding routine. Work, gym, early mornings. I met with a financial advisor to separate any remaining shared obligations and formally closed the joint account after confirming all pending bills had cleared. I documented everything. Clean endings matter. Then on a Thursday afternoon, Eric showed up at my office. He did not call ahead. He did not text. He walked into the lobby and asked the receptionist for me by name. When she called up and said a man was here insisting on speaking with me about a personal matter, I knew exactly who it was. I could have refused. Instead, I told her to send him up. I did not want lingering variables. He walked into the conference room like he still had the right to casual conversation. "You look good, man," he said, as if we were meeting for coffee. I stayed standing. "You have 5 minutes." He exhaled dramatically and ran a hand through his hair. This got out of hand fast. "Lauren is intense. You know that." I did not respond. It started as talking, just venting about you being distant. Then it crossed a line. But it was not serious. Not serious. "You were engaged to her," he added quickly, like that clarified something. She felt trapped. That word. Trapped. I asked him one question. "When you heard her call me an idiot, what did you say?" He hesitated. I did not think she meant it like that. That was enough. I told him he had mistaken access for friendship and attention for loyalty. I told him we were done permanently, and that if he contacted me again in any capacity, I would handle it legally if necessary. He tried to laugh it off. "You are really going nuclear over this." "No," I said calmly. "I am removing instability." He left without another word. That evening, Lauren emailed again. "Eric said you threatened him." I replied with a single sentence. "Do not contact me again." Then I blocked her email address as well. There is a difference between anger and finality. I was not angry anymore. I was finished. A month after everything ended, I ran into Lauren at a mutual friend's birthday gathering. I had debated not going, but I refused to reorganize my life around avoiding her. I arrived early, greeted people normally, and kept my tone steady. She walked in about 20 minutes later. If you have ever seen someone perform composure, that was her. Hair perfect. Smile calibrated. She hugged people like nothing had happened. When she saw me, she paused for half a second, then approached. "So this is how we are doing this," she said quietly. "We are not doing anything," I replied. "We are separate." She glanced around to see who was watching. No one was close enough to hear. "You really think you come out of this looking noble?" "This was never about looking noble." She leaned closer. "You could have married me. We could have fixed this privately. Instead, you made it public." I kept my voice even. "You made it public when you laughed about it." Her jaw tightened. "People cheat, Daniel. Adults work through it. Not when there is contempt attached." That word landed. Contempt. She shifted tactics again. "Eric is not even in the picture anymore." That should tell you something. It did tell me something. It told me the dynamic between them was never built on loyalty either. I told her I genuinely hoped she figured out what she was looking for, but it would not be with me. For the first time since the driveway incident, she dropped the edge in her tone. "You are really not coming back." No. There was no speech. No dramatic exit. She simply stepped back and said fine, like she was closing a negotiation that did not go her way. The rest of the evening was uneventful. A few friends made awkward small talk. One quietly told me they respected how I handled it. I left before Lauren did. On the drive home, I realized something simple. The pain had already peaked weeks ago in that parking lot when I heard her voice shift. Everything since then had just been execution. It has been 6 months. I signed a lease on a new apartment 2 months after everything ended. Lauren reached out one last time about 3 months ago from a new email address. The subject line was simply closure. I did not open it. Closure is not something you grant the person who dismantled the structure. It is something you build for yourself by refusing to re-enter a broken pattern. Through mutual connections, I have heard fragments. Lauren and Eric lasted maybe 5 weeks after I cut contact. Apparently, once secrecy was gone, so was whatever thrill had been sustaining them. She has told people that I was rigid and emotionally unavailable, that I did not fight for us. She is correct about one thing. I did not fight for it. I do not compete for loyalty. Looking back, the most revealing moment was not the cheating itself. It was the sentence I overheard. The tone, the laughter, the casual dismissal. Betrayal can be impulsive. Contempt is deliberate. When someone is comfortable mocking you publicly while still sharing your home privately, the relationship is already over. The only question is how long you plan to pretend otherwise. People have asked if I regret not confronting her immediately that night. If I regret not trying counseling. If I regret not demanding an explanation. No, the explanation was embedded in her behavior. I verified the facts. I removed myself. I handled logistics. I absorbed the short-term fallout to avoid long-term erosion. That is not dramatic. It is efficient. I was not perfect in that relationship. I worked long hours. I am structured, predictable, not flashy, but none of that justifies betrayal disguised as empowerment. 3 days after I hung up that phone and heard her laugh, she was screaming in my parents' driveway demanding control back. 6 months later, she has none of it. And I have my peace.